Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Anna and I hope that you're having an amazing day. So, today is the day that I'm here to talk to you guys all about my series. So, as you guys may or may not know, I am a vegan. And I have been saying for quite some time that I wanted to put a series out there on why eggs, chicken, beef, milk is bad for you, the environment, the world. And today is my first part of that series, and I wanted to focus on chicken because I feel like it's kind of it's the easiest one to kind of handle and talk about and discuss, at least for me. And I have some notes here on the side, so if you see me looking down at them, it's just to make sure that I'm saying things correctly. And yeah, so I'm excited about this. I hope you guys enjoy. And just a disclaimer, I am not trying to bash anyone who still eats meat or occasionally does have meat. This is just an informational video of things that I have come across while searching on the internet, and just things that I feel like everyone should know who are or are not vegan. Without further ado, let's get to it. So in this video, I'm going to divide the subjects up between 3 different categories. So the first one I'm going to tackle is health, then next I'm going to go to the environment, and the last one I'm going to touch upon is ethical. So I'm going to try my best to kind of stay on point. I may deviate a little bit, but the first one is health. Now, when it comes to chicken, I'm sure many of you guys may know, and meat in general, that these animals are pumped with so many antibiotics to help them grow and stay alive in the environment that they lived in, which is very cramped, very small, just not optimal for anyone or anything. So when you're having these antibiotics pumped into them, something kind of happens along the way. You have bacteria that is antibiotic resistant. Antibiotic resistant bacteria means that there's bacteria that will now not be able to be killed off by the antibiotics that we already have. So it gets harder and harder to get rid of diseases and illnesses that are a part of our lives, and just, you know, part of being human. You get sick every now and again. It's harder for you to get over that with antibiotics because these bacteria now have a defense against them. So doctors have to keep coming up with new and different formulas for these bacteria, when if you weren't eating the chicken to begin with, you wouldn't have to deal with this problem. The FDA recently revealed under, it's called the Freedom of Information Act, and it basically is what it says. It allows information to be free. None of these additives would likely be approved for livestock use today if submitted under the FDA guidelines, which kind of says something. Our FDA, you know, they're here to help protect us against malpractice and just wrongdoings and illnesses and things of that nature. So if the FDA, which, you know, is a bit skewed in a lot of ways, has a list of things that wouldn't be allowed now, but like because they were submitted before, they're still being used. Like, that kind of says something about what's going on in our meat industry. Continuing in that vein, 18 out of 30 of the feeds used for the chickens contain antibiotic resistant bacteria, which means that there's a huge risk of humans gaining exposure to this antibiotic resistant bacteria, and like I said, it just means it's going to be harder for you to get better once you're sick, if you get sick, which is kind of likely when you consider that 97% of chicken breast contains salmonella. I believe the Disease Prevention Center, I'm probably saying that wrong, let me check. The Center of Disease Control and Prevention actually released that 85% of the UTIs contracted in the US was due to E. coli found in chicken. So there's a lot that goes into our meat that isn't necessarily directly what you would consider, or I would consider, directly related, and it blew my mind when I found that out, because I've never had a UTI, but a lot of people in my family get them, and just a lot of people in general tend to get UTIs, and you think of it as just something you get from other causes, but the crazy thing is that it can be coming from your chicken, which is like mind-blowing. Another huge thing that, like, I think is a huge reason why I would never go back to eating chicken is this, that they are fed arsenic. Arsenic is poisonous to humans, and it can cause cancer, it can cause dementia, it can even cause neurological damage within your body. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy that that's what's being fed to our chickens, and therefore being fed to us. Like, you are what you eat. Like, that is 120 million% correct. So it's just something you should be aware of, and something that if you are health conscious, like, this is what you're eating. Like, it's not, regardless of whether it is organic or free range, it's gonna have one of these things. It could have salmonella, E. coli. You know, it might not have like the antibiotics that the mainstream chickens do, but they are still pumped with certain things that are allowed by the FDA, in the same way that organic there's about 25 pesticides that can still be used on vegetables, even though they're called organic, you know? It's just, you have to be aware, and you have to be conscious of these things when you're trying to make the most health conscious decision. So that's just a quick rundown on a few different things that chicken has in terms of health, and there's plenty more that you can look up. These are just kind of the main top point hitting ones that I wanted to get through, and yeah, so now we're going to move on to environment. And for those of you who are big on, you know, saving this earth and living a green life, then here are some facts that may, or you know, they should affect you in some ways. So of course, if you're up to date with, you know, the environment and global warming, then you know how precious our resources are. And so when it comes to a chicken, now this is just a chicken, meat I think of course takes way more, like red meat, but for a chicken it takes 700 gallons of water and 6 pounds of feed to raise 1 pound of chicken. Now I don't know the exact estimate of the size of our chickens that that are, you know, slaughtered in a slaughterhouse. I would say they probably go somewhere between 5 or 6 pounds. So multiply that by about 9 to 10 billion chickens that are raised for food each year, and that's the amount of water and feed and just resources needed to just consume chicken. And we're not talking about fish, we're not talking about meat, we're not talking about eggs, we're not talking about like milk. Like, this is just chicken. So you can see how this huge web of effect occurs when you start buying and consuming within the meat and dairy industry. Also, another thing that I didn't know about, but recently, like I believe last August, the Department of Agriculture passed legislation that allowed chickens that were raised in the U.S. to be flown to China to get processed. So whatever that entails, I'm assuming it means like skinning them and defeathering them and just kind of killing them in a sense, and preparing them to be shipped back to the U.S. To then be sold, and you're not going to know that they were ever shipped to China and handled and processed there in whatever conditions that they're in over there, because of course they differ in China. So that occurs. So can you, like, that's mind-blowing. We're shipping our chickens to China to get processed and killed to then be brought back to the US to eat because it's cost effective. Somehow, some way, this is more cost effective than doing it in the US. Probably because they're being paid way, way, way less in China, and our money might be worth more there. I'm not sure, I didn't look that up. But it's like insane that that's the lengths that we're going to in order to minimize the cost of meat, when all you have to do is kind of not buy meat. Or to be more realistic, buy it less often, so include more plant-based meals in your diet. I understand that maybe not everyone wants to or will ever connect to a vegan lifestyle or vegetarian one, but simply minimizing your meat intake just does such a huge impact. And that's why Meatless Monday, I'm such a promoter of that. I'm such like pro do that, find your way of minimizing your meat and dairy intake, rather than, you know, forcing everyone to go vegan. If you connect, and I hope with these videos that I'm creating, you will start to connect and make that ethical or health or environmental connection. It'll all come, you know, together for some people. But I understand that it would be unrealistic for me to expect everyone to go vegetarian and vegan. I understand that. So, for those who are environmentally conscious, this is just something that I think you guys would like to be aware of, and if you weren't already, there you go. There's just a few of the things that, if you want to get into deeper, you can talk about the excrement that is created by these animals and where it's being dumped, which is into the ocean, which is now, our sewage system in many ways, and then the fish are affected, and I'm going to talk more about fish in another video, but everything is interconnected, and if you have any knowledge or insight on the environment, then you understand this completely, and this is not news to you. So everything is just so fragile and needs to be in balance, and we are disturbing this natural environmental balance by pumping chicken after chicken after chicken after hen after rooster after chicken. It's insane. It's insane. Our planet is not meant to, hold all the things that we've done. We've created these huge populations, and now these huge animal populations within these slaughterhouses. It's all out of balance, and minimizing your chicken or your meat or your dairy intake will help restore this balance. Now we're going to talk about the ethical connection that one can make. And if you're already a compassionate person, all you have to do is watch a documentary and you're moved. But if you need a little bit more convincing, then I can tell you this. And I don't know what order I want to go in, so I think we're going to start with, let's start with what sentience is. So when a vegan or vegetarian says that animals are a sentient being or livestock is a sentient being, what we mean is that they are able to process emotions, they are able to feel, perceive, or that they're conscious of a given moment. And already that sounds like an animal, like if you have a dog or if you've been with a cat or something, you would consider them a sentient being. And in that same vein, these animals feel, and we can empathize with them when they are abused and when they are, objectified or put through the ringer of life in a way that they shouldn't be. So, one thing that I think is huge, and I didn't know it at all, I understood that chickens, had simple math capabilities, and I'll get into that in a little bit, but something that I didn't know, and I found out when doing this research, is that they have object permanence. And if you're an education major, psychology major, you're like, oh my god, wait, really? But for those who don't know, object permanence means that if I had this stuffed animal, and I put it behind my back, you understand that it is still in existence, but it's just behind my back. And children don't develop that until maybe 2 or somewhere in their early stages of development. 3 is too old, they've already contained that, but I think around 2. So when you start doing peekaboo and a child is entertained, it's because they don't have the object permanence, and they don't understand that you're hiding behind your eyes. You're hiding behind your hands. They think that you're gone, and then you're just poofing in again. So that's why peekaboo is so entertaining for small kids. Well, chickens have object permanence. You can hide this stuffed animal and they understand that it's hidden. That is beyond amazing, and it's proof of their reasoning. People like to say that animals can't reason as much as we can, and that's why, they don't, not that they don't deserve to live, but that's why, it's okay to eat them. And for me, when I hear that, I think it's such a double standard, because if a human, had a lowered mental capability due to a disability or a handicap or something like that, we wouldn't say that it was okay to eat them or it's okay to kill them. Like, we have laws against that. And so in that same token, shouldn't we have laws against killing an animal who has this sentience? Just a question to throw out there. And so tying into sentience, they can definitely feel pain, they can definitely get stressed, and they definitely have fear. That's something that they can experience. Something else that I learned is that they have up to 24 different calls, which is kind of proof for a language within themselves, and these calls have a range of meanings. So it can mean that a predator is approaching, or that they have found food, or I believe I wrote down, oh, that they're frustrated. I mean, they can whine. They're basically human. So, like I mentioned before, they also have basic math skills. So there's an experiment done, and I'm gonna try and leave all the references that I am mentioning down in the down bar, so you can, you know, look through it yourself. But there was this experiment in which 5 shells were divided between each other. So there'd be maybe a group of 3 and 2, or 4 and 1, or something like that. And the chicken would be told, or asked in a way, to show the larger quantity. And every time the chicken would get it, if you gave a 2-year-old or 3-year-old that task, you know, not every single one of them would pass, but these chickens did. So it shows that they can kind of quantify different things, and that shows that they have logic, that they have reasoning. And I think something that's important, and I think I'm gonna touch upon this in every video, is that just because we don't understand them, just because they might not act the way we do, or we don't perceive them the way that we perceive each other as humans, doesn't mean that they don't have that same capability or those feelings. Like, it doesn't mean that they don't reason to a certain degree. And there's so much proof, there's so much evidence that these animals are sentient beings. And for me, I think what hurts me the most as a vegan is that these animals are just tortured. They are put in these small cages. They sometimes go through the process half alive, so they're still kind of feeling the things that are going on, and there's just no need. Little chickens are thrown into grinders because they're not going to grow big enough, because they're males. There's so much, and that's part of the egg industry, and I'll get into that. But just with chickens, like, their beaks are shaved off so they don't peck each other. They feel, they think, they understand, they know. There are so many cases of animals trying to escape their prisons. And it's like there's this huge genocide that's going on, and no one's doing anything about it. And that's why I'm doing this video series, and that's why I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Leave any questions or comments down below. I look forward to hearing from you guys, and this is just the first of a few more videos out to come. Leave any fun facts you might have for me about chickens. The next episode I'm going to do, I believe, is on red meat, and I will get that to you guys within the next week or so. Please press the subscribe button if you have not subscribed already. It means the world to me. And all my social media is always linked in the down bar.